Hello and welcome to the road opposite Fairfax County Court, which you can just about see in the distance behind me. We have finished early today, which is terribly exciting. In fact, I got so excited I forgot to do a video top and tail, we call it in the business, for reporting Depp v. Heard. So it was only when I got to the bus stop I realised that, I hadn't actually introduced my park bench interview, which is not on a park bench today, no. It is in the Law and Crime Network's gazebo, because my guest is the very fine Angenette Levy, who I have been spending a lot of time with over the course of this trial. She is a law and crime reporter and presenter, and it was spitting with rain. So I asked if they wouldn't mind if we filmed the interview at their camera point, and so that's what we did. So a nice chat with Angenette coming up. She's far better informed than I am, as you will see from the interview, and she tells us her perspective on what's been going on in court today, as well as over the last 6 weeks. We have had four witnesses today. We had 3 experts as rebuttal witnesses and Amber Heard herself. The first rebuttal witness was an orthopedic hand surgeon who said it was perfectly possible for Johnny Depp to lose the tip of his finger in the way that he did if it was crushed by a flying vodka bottle and a marble bar surface. Then we had a rebuttal witness rebutting the forensic evidence yesterday, telling the jury and the court that he was able to find the source of the original photos that were put in evidence, the ones that the expert yesterday said were of no evidential value whatsoever. And as you will hear, Angenette Levy made me aware of a sanctions order or request that's been put in to the judge by Team Depp, saying that Amber Heard refused to hand over the original photographs or allow her phone to be forensically examined to see whether or not she did doctor or alter any of the photos that were presented in evidence. The third witness was Dr. Dawn Hughes, who was back to throw shade on Dr. Shannon Curry after Dr. Shannon Curry rubbished her yesterday. And then finally we had Amber Heard herself. And then at lunchtime the judge said we could all go home, which was great. And so that has allowed me to get my newsletter out early and tidy up the apartment that I'm staying in, because the owners of the apartment are coming back tomorrow. So that's what I'm now going to go and do. Well, I'll come back for a little bit at the end, but that's, basically it. So enjoy this interview with Angenette Levy, who I'm very grateful to, and indeed all the Law and Crime Network for their hospitality and help and friendliness over the course of the last 6 weeks.
All right, and we are rolling.
Okay. All right.
Welcome to what is not a park bench interview, because we've taken over the Law and Crime gazebo, because my interviewee today is Angenette Levy. Hello, Angenette. How are you? I'm going to turn my chair towards you.
Oh, thank you.
You've had a very busy day. You've just done an hour live on television as well, haven't you?
That's right.
So, and you were in court for the instructions and conference.
I was not, actually. Unfortunately, I was in the hallway.
Right.
I was number 105 today. There were people cutting, so I didn't get into the courtroom, which is really unfortunate.
Should we start on that? Because I know it sounds like a pet peeve between journalists, and we it's not special pleading, is it? There's a good reason to have journalists in court, isn't there?
There really is, and even when you have the live stream, which is great, I think all these big proceedings that people are interested in should be available to the public and streamed, because it allows people to see for themselves, without just having to turn on a newscast, how the process works. But it is important, even with the stream, to allow for a certain number of reporters in the courtroom. And that didn't happen. They usually, a lot of places will either do first come, first serve, or they'll let you just fill up the courtroom. Yeah. I knew a judge where I worked in local news in Cincinnati for like 10 years, and there was this quirky judge, Judge Nadel, and I remember he had a case overturned, actually, because he limited the number of spectators in the courtroom. And he said from then on, after the conviction was vacated and he had to redo the trial, he said, well, even if it's a fire code violation, I really don't care. And he just had the bailiffs set up a bunch of folding chairs. He's like, I'll just put folding chairs all over the place, and as many people can come in as they want, and that way nobody can say I limited access.
Well, it's an important principle, isn't it? Because what you've got now, and you could say, yes, you could just queue up, but our work as journalists is done after court concludes.
Right.
So if you're expecting us to be in the line at 1 in the morning, well, even when there are line cutters,
which is insane.
Yeah, and then having to sort of try and do some work at the end of it, that's not feasible. But you've got this problem whereby the TV feed is being sent out into the world, and there are, I'm sure it's great for the Law and Crime Network that it is, but there's no kind of mediation, there's no analysis. All the analysis is essentially being done online by social media. And if you had a bit more, I mean, because there were some journalists here at the beginning of the trial. I mean, you and I have stuck it out along with a few hardy stalwarts, but there were a bunch of journalists who turned up for the first week, realised that they weren't going to be able to get into court, and just thought, right, I'll just watch it in the office on TV.
But you really miss a lot of the feel, and we really like to be in there so we can look at the jurors' faces and see maybe, and it's hard to read jurors' faces, and some of them are wearing masks because of COVID, obviously, so that's kind of frustrating. But you can see sometimes what, what they're paying attention to, if they will look at a witness, if they won't look at a witness.
And if something happens in court, like the baby thing the other day, which wasn't caught by the cameras and probably would have been in contempt if it was, but if there was a reporter in there or more reporters in there, they would be able to find out a little bit more about that incident. But it was hushed up very quickly, wasn't it? Yeah,
well, she was kicked out. We tracked her down. I mean, I sent Celia, our production assistant, who, I had to do a live shot. I said, go get her and go interview her. And they did. So that was kind of cool. But the woman said, okay, just so you know, Johnny Depp is not her baby daddy. So she said she talked to her husband about it and they thought it would be funny. I don't really know why they thought that, but hey, to each his own. But she got kicked out of court. So that wasn't cool at all.
Talk about wanting your 15 minutes. Speaking of that, Amber Heard made some interesting allegations in the witness box today, didn't she? She said that the two people, or she implied that two of the people who had been used as rebuttal witnesses had come out of the woodwork in order to support Johnny Depp. Now, how wise is that?
Okay, so here's the deal on that. I was sitting out in the hallway because I didn't get into the courtroom, and a bunch of us reporters were, and I know you know who they are, and we all were like, at least we were in the hallway, right? So we could go, because I am sorry, Kate Moss did not just come out of the woodwork, okay? Kate Moss is apparently still good friends with Johnny Depp, and they dated. I said this on the air. I remember, and I want to preface this with the fact that, before I was assigned to cover this trial a week before it started, and I had to really do I had to do my best, level best to get up to speed, and and it's been really interesting. And this is not just a Hollywood case. I want people to know that there are a lot of important issues going on here. There are issues with the Me Too movement. There are issues with the First Amendment, domestic violence, whether or not men can be victims of domestic violence. Some people don't believe that can happen. I'm here to tell you it can happen. I'm not offering an opinion on this case, but I've known men who've been victims of domestic violence. So it does happen. But my point being, Kate Moss didn't just come out of the woodwork. She dated Johnny Depp back in the 90s. They were all over the tabloids back then. I remember her, because she was just this beautiful woman. And I have to tell you this, Nick, since you're from the UK, I got a text when I got out of court yesterday, since we had to have our phones off. I get out of court every day and I turn my phone on and the thing is just exploding. Yeah, right? Oh, yeah. With texts. And I didn't get back to this person, but somebody from radio in the UK messaged me and said, hey, would you please come on and offer reaction to our queen, Kate Moss, our queen
she
testifying.
Was the reigning top supermodel in the UK, and my colleagues back in the UK were very, very excited that she was testifying.
Yes, and so when somebody says our queen, Kate Moss testifying. Kate Moss did not just come out of the woodwork. No, Kate Moss is a big deal.
And also, Amber Heard opened the door for Kate Moss to testify. It was her mentioning her name. And
exactly, it was her fault.
This strange rumour that no one seems to know the source of.
That Johnny Depp threw her down the stairs. Yeah.
So today we had basically Team Heard's rebuttal. It was Amber Heard in the witness box. You had Dr. Dawn Hughes. Oh God, I'd love to get Dawn Hughes and Shannon Curry in a room together and see what
Would you? Because I'm just kind of, when she said, I think Dr. Curry is confused. I was like,
and not.
I was like, that's kind of harsh.
And not competent to administer these tests.
I must say, I just made a funny face, and apparently, some people online have taken issues with my faces that I make. I just can't hide how I'm feeling sometimes. So Sorry, people.
But those two, they just need, I think, to sit down and have a nice chat. Surely they would get on.
Do you think maybe we should mediate that chat?
That'd be amazing. The amount of shade they've thrown on each other
my
over the course of the double time that they were in the witness box.
I feel like Shannon Curry's shade was nicer, and maybe it was just like sugar-coated a little more. Dawn Hughes is from New York, so hers was a little rough. It was a rougher shade.
The thing is, they are two incredibly qualified women who have very, very clear, diametrically opposite opinions about the same person that they examined, and they absolutely stick into their guns on it as well. So I feel a bit sorry for the jury. So we had Dawn Hughes doing her a piece on Shannon Curry in the same way that we had Shannon Curry do the same on Dawn Hughes yesterday. And then we had two experts this morning, one of whom contradicted the data analyst that Johnny Depp's team got up, and one who said that Johnny Depp's theory about the bottle smashing on his hand was credible. Mm-hmm. What did you make of today's evidence? Because I thought yesterday was very, very strong.
Yeah, yesterday was a good day for Johnny Depp, especially that guy from TMZ, Morgan Tremaine. Wow, is all I can say about him. He, the metadata thing, I guess I can't put out of my mind the motion that the Depp team filed for sanctions against the Heard team. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, so they filed a motion for sanctions. It's on the website and for the clerk of courts, and it says that the Heard team didn't comply properly with turning over Heard's phone to have it extracted for data.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's no metadata.
So that's what the guy was saying yesterday. So that what he's been given is evidentially meaningless.
He can't authenticate it. And so they brought in an expert today. I think, sometimes I think experts, when you get into a battle of the experts, I feel like the jurors are just like, okay, whatever. We clearly have two versions of the same photo with different facial colorings, different shading on it.
Yeah.
And if you're documenting evidence, if you're taking photos for evidentiary purposes, you shouldn't be altering or doing whatever it is on your phone with that. So I thought it was a little bit. I think the jury can look at that and make up their own minds.
Yeah, and then yes, the bottle smashing incident. A very well-respected orthopedic surgeon says it's entirely possible, although he wasn't that convincing on how a bottle coming down on Johnny Depp's finger could not injure the fingernail and take that part of it away.
Yeah, and looking at the picture of the finger is so,
every time I think I'm going to be used to it, and then you see this bloody cut off finger, and you think
with a fingernail, it's literally like it's.
I prefer looking at the X-rays.
Can you imagine though? Good God, and I'm not convinced that it couldn't have happened that way.
Oh, no, neither am I. No.
I say that because we're not talking about just like a regular size vodka bottle.
Yeah, the handle bottles.
We're talking about the handle kind, and if it was full or whatever, that would have a lot of force. I'm surprised we didn't hear more about like physics and force and things like that with that. Maybe that's just getting too into the weeds.
Yeah, it does feel like we have got into the weeds in a lot of things in this trial.
When glass shatters, though, it can do a lot of damage.
Of course, absolutely. What do you make of the trial overall and the evidence that you've heard? This is my first American trial, obviously, and I've been fascinated by the court system and the court process and how it differs from what we've got in the UK. But what do you make of the trial as a whole, what you've seen and what you've heard and the way it's been presented?
I think it's been really interesting. Going into this, I didn't know what to expect. Going into this, I just looked at the legal standard. I looked at what was being alleged, and I thought to myself, wow, it's a high bar, actual malice. You have to prove that he's a public figure, so he has to prove actual malice, as does she, as a public figure. So that's a high bar. And so the standard that's being used in this case is clear and convincing evidence, which means like 80% or so or greater. Beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest standard. That's in criminal cases.
Yeah.
That's usually like above 90%, 95%
But you're
or higher.
above the preponderance of evidence
You're
level.
above that.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, as this case was unfolding, I'll wait and see how it goes. And at the end of Depp's case in chief, we watch trials all the time, and we've seen a lot of trials. We've seen really good cases. We've seen really bad cases. And we all felt like the Depp team put on a really strong case. And it just seemed like they did a good job. And then the rebuttal case, yeah, yesterday was damning, especially with the I thought the TMZ guy, that whole thing, if you look at what he said and about the copyright, and he was dealing with the person who owned the copyright, he got the copyright in 15 minutes. The whole thing about dispatching the crews, and she was going to turn so you could see the bruise, and the publicist is at the courthouse.
She was absolutely denying that not only she had nothing to do with it, but that her team had nothing to do with it as well.
Right.
And she said that on oath.
Correct. And so I guess if you really wanted to press that, you could probably go and subpoena stuff from TMZ, but you might not get it because of the journalistic privilege and stuff like that. So this guy apparently came forward on his own accord and said, "I'll testify." So I thought that really helped their argument that this was designed to hurt Johnny Depp. And then today, I don't know, on the cross-examination, Camille Vasquez put up the photo of Amber Heard and Rocky Pennington the next day.
Yes, which we haven't seen
I
until
hadn't
today.
Seen that.
No.
And there's no bruise.
Yeah.
There's no brown mark. So that was really something. And she said, "Well, I was wearing makeup," but she said that was the day she went to the courthouse was the only day she didn't. She forgot to put on makeup, and that seems.
Is that what she said? She forgot? Because
I think that's what she said. Maybe,
right.
if I'm misstating that, I'm sorry. I may be misstating that.
I thought the reason was so that she could be properly examined in order to get the TRA, but I may have got that wrong. So it's been a long trial. We've had to take on board an awful lot of information.
Right.
You are a seasoned legal watcher, so what do you think of the attorneys for both parties in this case? Are there any weaknesses that you spotted or any strengths that you particularly spotted on either side that you draw attention to? There's a lot of them.
I hate to do that because I'm not a lawyer. I've just covered legal cases for years, and I know good lawyering when I see it, and I know bad lawyering when I see it. There were some things that I saw. So Linda Kenny-Bodden, she's a seasoned attorney, and she's one of our hosts and legal analysts. And she said she felt like in watching this some days, she was watching attorneys on Heard's side who maybe do depositions more than they litigate, and who need to get out of the thought process of doing a deposition.
Right.
So she would know about that better than I would. I think that there were some weak points that they tried to make. And Rottenborn, Ben Rottenborn, I thought he was unnecessarily rough and rude on Depp at times.
Right.
He seemed, and obviously these two don't seem to like each other one bit.
I wonder why.
I think I'm being polite when I put it that way.
Mr. Rottenborn.
Yeah,
as he savoured that surname in his mouth a number of times.
And he said that yesterday too. Yeah. He said the rotten was like, and then more of a pause yesterday in the Born at one point. But it was interesting. It was like, I don't know. It was, I don't think you have to be nasty or, maybe he was just super frustrated. I don't know. But I think that Johnny Depp at times got the best of him on cross. But I don't know. I don't know these people. You can only work with what you have. And there's a big glare on this case. Mm-hmm. There's a huge spotlight on this case. Mm-hmm. It's being watched around the world. And, on Depp's side, it seems like each attorney has their own area where they're strong.
Yeah.
Like Ben Chu's the lead guy, obviously. He's the lead person. And then you have Camille Vasquez, she's obviously very good at cross-examining witnesses.
She's on Amber Heard,
yeah. So I think her cross-examinations have been really good. And then you had Jessica Myers. I thought she was really good. She was very calm and cool and collected in what she's done. And Rebecca Lacrose, I think is her name. I wanted to pronounce that properly. She, I feel like they all had strengths, right? So I've really, I think they've done a good job. Obviously, nobody's perfect. We've seen, there were people who were on our air who were really critical of the Depp team's opening statements. They didn't think they were very good. I personally didn't think they were bad. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that I'm not into criticizing, but it just seems like I don't know. There have been some days where I wondered if they were just the glare of the spotlight was kind of too harsh for Heard's team. And you know, I've introduced myself to them, like, "Hi, I'm Angenette with Law and Crime. Hi, I'm not allowed to talk to you."
Yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. I've had
so
that a few times. Yeah. So who's going to win?
You know, I don't know. Is anybody going to win? I don't know.
Yeah, the jury could equally throw out both cases, couldn't they?
I mean, maybe I'll have a better feeling after hearing the opening or the closing arguments tomorrow.
Yeah, I am looking forward to those.
And I've been trying to read some of the jurors' faces, and I can't see all of their faces, and it's hard to read jurors' faces, but
this lot seem to be an incredibly impassive bunch.
Yeah.
Everyone I speak,
we don't get much out of them.
I don't watch juries.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to in the UK, so this is my first experience of it. So I've been asking other people who have experience, and they say they're quite impassive. They don't react or respond much.
They don't. They really don't. There's one guy on the end. He kind of cracks me up because his eyes will kind of dart back and forth, like from like the person in the witness box to or on the stand to like the lawyer, and he kind of is like this. Like
a tennis match.
Like almost like he does that sometimes. That's the most expression I've really seen.
Yeah, the others are pretty.
Yeah, and there were two women up top who have COVID masks on all the time. So there's a lot of note taking. I've noticed that a lot of note taking. One thing I think is interesting is that there are a few younger men on the jury, and it makes me kind of wonder, like, well, who does that benefit? Because maybe they don't have as much life experience as there's an older gentleman on the thing, on the
front row jury.
Yeah, the juror. And when I say older, he's like middle-aged.
60-ish.
Yeah, probably 60-ish. And then there's a woman who probably appears to be in her 50s. So, and the women up top, I can't tell. One younger woman, one woman who's probably 50s. So, yeah, you just don't know. But I think everybody's going to look at this through the lens of, you know, what have my relationships been like? You know, have I ever talked to my significant other that way? Now, granted, there were a lot of drugs and alcohol and stuff like that involved in this relationship.
And islands and resorts.
Right.
It's like
it's
a grand opera,
it's
isn't it?
It's a whole other world.
Yeah.
That said, you know, we're in Fairfax County, and apparently this is a pretty wealthy area from what I've been told. But at the same time,
not quite a private jet territory. Not everyone in Fairfax, maybe.
Fairfax County is not. I have my own island in the Bahamas.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the things that I drew from the 2020 trial. The lifestyles of these people, the hangers-on, the fixers, the people who surround them, the way that they operate and what they have to operate within is just extraordinary. And it doesn't sound healthy, does it? The way that, you know, it's almost unsurprising that they end up in toxic relationships. But but I guess we're going to find out pretty soon. I mean, people seem to be thinking that a result next week.
Yeah, I think
feasible?
I think next week is more likely than tomorrow.
Oh yeah. They would have already had to pretty much made up their minds by the time they walk out to get one back tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
But this isn't going to drag on for weeks and weeks, or who knows? Who knows? If you've got one holdout, two holdouts, could go on forever.
Yeah.
Angenette, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for talking with me.
Thanks. I'm glad I finally got you, because I've been trying to get you on the park bench for a chat for the last 6 weeks, and thank you for the use of your gazebo, because it's a bit of a funny day. It's sort of been, we call it spitting. Do you get that?
My tent.
Yes, your beautifully appointed studio.
It's our studio.
With the lighting.
I call it Studio A or Tent A. And then today we've
you've got another camera point over there.
Yes, we've added Tent B or Studio B, and so I've been referring to it as that. This is like the palace. Over there's kind of like the, but actually they're both equally, you know, grand.
It's beautifully well resourced and staffed as well, who've been very patient. And thank you very much. What's your name, sir? Kevin, thank you so much for doing the filming on this. I'm very, very grateful. And thanks again, Angenette.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely, and it's been so lovely to meet you as well, because just the accent. I think I told you this before.
There's more to me than my accent. But it's the only thing that everyone ever says.
But no, and you're charming and you're lovely.
I have range, darling. I have range.
You do have range. He's wonderful.
The accent's fake.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Oh my God, don't even bring up Wisconsin to me because I lived there for 5.5 years. Oh God, let's not go there. But anyway, they have a different way of talking. When I was in Wisconsin, I remember, that'll go in my memoir someday in my book. People were like straight up not cool or not nice to me. When I got there, I was like total outsider, and they used to say, you know, you have a Southern accent. And I'm like, I have never been told I have a Southern accent, but I guess compared to you guys, you sound like you're from Canada, so I guess I sound like I have a Southern accent.
I guess.
You know, whatever.
Listen, I must just say, it's been an absolute joy to be welcomed by so many Americans since I've been here. I have had, it's been a long time away from my family,
Yeah.
but I've been made to feel so welcome, yourself and all the law and crime guys
Yeah.
included, so I'm very, very grateful.
Well, you're very sweet and very charming, and you know, London is it's probably like my second or third favorite city. I have like my list of cities that I love.
Come back soon.
I
Come back
know.
soon. I'd love to take you for a pint in Soho.
Oh God, it'd be great. I haven't been to London in so many years, and the last time I was there, I think I went for like 3 days. My sister had a business trip, and I met her over there. I had some Sky Miles and just took a quick flight over there, and but the jet lag can really hit you.
Well, over 3 days it can. We better go because I think Jesse's got to do some work. Come round, Jesse, and come and say hello. Jesse's on. This is the actual his camera position. Come on.
Hello.
Here he is, the man himself.
How'd this interview go?
Yeah, she's not bad.
Not bad.
She's better than you, like Eric said, much better than Jesse. You were brilliant, mate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry, my phone keeps blowing up. That's why I keep looking at it.
People. My thanks to Angenette Levy, and my apologies to her for not seeing the brilliant bit of journalism that she did in getting Celia, her colleague, to go and track down the woman who held up the baby in court. I must watch more of the Law and Crime Network. Right, hopefully my bus will come along any moment. I'm glad I haven't missed it and it didn't turn up in the middle of doing this. Hopefully my bus will come along and I can go back and start tidying my apartment. Tomorrow we are going to have 2 hours each of closing arguments. Then there will be jury instructions where the judge tells the jury what they have to do in order to reach their verdicts, things that have to be basically ticked off for them to come to one verdict or another. Then the jury will be sent out, and it's that possible they might come back with a verdict tomorrow. It would be very, very unusual and no one's expecting them to, but if they've all already made up their minds in one direction, then they could come back before the end of the day. And they're allowed to deliberate into the evening with no particular cut-off point, so they can keep talking as long as they want to, and then they're back on Tuesday to do some more. We are expecting a result next week, but it might have been unwise to put that on the record because they might have a holdout or a couple of holdouts who keep this verdict, keep the jury deliberating for a long, long time. But most seasoned court watchers are thinking that they will be returning Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. We will see. Okay, back for more tomorrow. Thank you very much for supporting Reporting Depp v. Heard. I do appreciate it. If you want to find out more, go to the website reportingdeppvheard.net. But that's it from me for now. Goodbye.